Hey guys, so I wanted to talk to you guys about a little bit about my journey, a little bit about my spirituality and how I came out of the closet. I knew that I've always had these gifts. I knew that I've always had these abilities. I knew it, which then I ended up passing them down to my kids. I do have 3 kids. My oldest is a boy. He's 30 years old. And then I have my 2 daughters, and I think it's kind of funny throughout the years. Like they would come to me with something like, for instance, my son when he was younger, he used to sleep with a pillow over his head, and I'm like, Brandon, why are you doing that? Like, it's freaking me out because I'm thinking he's gonna kill himself, right? He's gonna suffocate on a pillow. But when he said this to me, I thought, oh Lord, here we go. He said, Mama, I sleep with a pillow over my head because I don't want them to look at me. And I was like, oh, here we go. So he was gifted. He sees spirit. Now this is sage. I do like to sage before any live. I like to sage randomly when I kind of feel an energy come into my house, because I'm in an apartment. So you have to figure I have somebody above me and then I have somebody below me, all around me except on the front end. So I like to do sage, and then I like to do, this is the end of my little palo stick. It kind of looks like a little doobie, but it's not. So I just wanted to take you guys through kind of my journey in spirit, and how, like my kids are very spiritual. My youngest actually sees spirit. There was a little boy that was burnt up in a fire that used to follow her around. Now, I don't know if he still does. I'm sure he does. But he would go to school with her, and he would, appear and that kind of thing. Now, when we lived in South Georgia, there was a lady that used to appear to my youngest daughter. But it was weird because it was only at Christmas time. It was a pregnant lady that would stand at our Christmas tree, and every year she would show herself. So, a lot of times when we do this, when we're able to have these gifts and we're able to have these abilities, people label them as, like you're skits or you have a mental illness or anything like that. And I just don't believe that. I don't believe that, because there's angels around us, you have spirit around you, you have the Holy Spirit, past loved ones, you have spirit around you. Now, whether or not you can actually see them with your two eyes, doesn't mean that you can't see them with your one eye. And the one eye is actually listed in the Bible as well, because I don't remember the scripture, but it does say something like, seeing with your one eye, which always confused me in the church, because I was like, what do you mean, like my one eye? Like I have 2. Is that a typo in the Bible? Like, what is that? So I think through my spiritual journey, I started to realize that there are spirits around us. And now I knew that anyway, because I did grow up in the church. I have seen people have demons taken out of them and stuff like that. That was the kind of church that I was in. And, I guess it was even very real to me back then. And I remember them talking about music, in the background, music that carries frequencies and different tones, that they will lay a specific frequency underneath a song. And therefore, when you listen to Eminem, aren't you some type of way? Don't you feel like you can take on the world, or fuck all the people around you, kind of a thing, all right? That's an energy that with a tone, a frequency that is embedded into that particular music. So when I realized that, and then I realized that the government knows that too, and that they are intentionally lacing that type of frequency in our music, in our just everything, right, is when I started to realize, wow, mental illness is really, that's really a thing too, because it's a frequency. So if they're doing that to our music, and they're doing that, with CERN or whoever, then they are able to control our brains. How would they do that, right? So I went down the rabbit hole on mental illness because I really wanted to fix myself. I really wanted to figure out, like, within my generation, because if I'm a curse breaker, I have to understand or know what curses I'm breaking, right? Which is going to be accompanied by a particular spirit or a particular demon, right? So when I started to realize that and jumping into mental illness and the mental illness that is in our family and the mental illness, but I had to get real specific and real clear with what mental illness is. Like, we hear about it and that kind of thing, but do you really know what it is? Do you know where it comes from? Do you know where the origin is? You know? And I started to study that. And then when I did, I cleared out like my karma, generational karma, things that were brought in through the bloodline, for the whole family kind of a thing. Cause it's, you know, you may have, like, for me, I have an aunt and two, an aunt and an uncle on my dad's side. It's two brothers and a sister. So I have one of each, but it's the whole bloodline. So even whenever you're going through like your mental illness on your generation side, like you're gonna have to notice that there's one side is your mom, right? And one side is your dad. So when you come across, like, say you come across narcissism, and you're understanding what the mental illness is, you're understanding like the tactics that they use, why they have it. From what I've gathered, the front is it the hippocampus? The front lobe of your brain did not mature, okay? And that is common sense. That is, you know, I was gonna say rights to make choices, but it's your cognitive dissonance on what your intention with your, you know, your life is going to be, you know. And at that time, you know, like we all have, you know, illnesses and that kind of thing running through our bloodline, but when you can identify it and realize like what it is when you can then go through your table and look at the person authentically and diagnose them, right? Now, some of them may not be. Some of them may be, you know, not actually a narcissist, right? But what I encourage you guys to do is to learn what the mental illness is. When you learn what it is, and the tactics and the gaslighting and the hoovering and the dog whistling and even holding space for them, that's really hard, right? That's really hard to do. So as I was going around my table, looking at like the people that are around me, not only myself, but also the people around me, I started with my mom and dad. I started with the dynamics of how was their marriage? What did I pick up from that marriage that I felt like I needed to do in mine, right? Because when we grow up, we kind of have like this imagination of what we want in the marriage or how it's going to play out, right? Make sure that what you think how it's going to play out is actually reality, because you could have somebody on the other side that is projecting what they're manipulating. They're projecting things onto you that seems great, or they're projecting things onto you. It's called future faking, okay? They're future faking you, saying that they're going to do this, they're going to create this beautiful life with you. We're gonna, you know, have a white picket fence and 2 dogs and, you know, like all the things, right? And then, you know, after retirement, then we're gonna just live a happy old little couple down in Florida and retire, and we're gonna play bingo on Thursdays, right? So you create all of this in your head off of what they're saying, but are they truthful? You know, have you talked to them several times and caught them in lies? Have you, you know, that's where you're taking apart, you're deconstructing what you imagined in your head. Because is it actually true? What you're creating, what you want, like, right? Your dream, that's what you want. But what is it in reality? What is it actually? You know, and I think when I started to realize what it actually was, because, you know, you hear about in the Bible being unequally yoked. Well, you know, in religious terms, it's just like you guys are just on 2 different pages, right? in spirituality, when I hear that, I think two different frequencies, right? So again, go back to what I said earlier. If there is a frequency that they can underlie, like lace into music to make you feel some type of way, whether it be lower vibration where you're wanting to like harm yourself or harm other people or anything like that, or you can have a higher vibration, which is love, right? A higher frequency that's going to pull you up on the higher timelines, that is also going to make you feel a better way, a better version, a better frequency. So when I started to deconstruct all of this, right, I went through the biggest tower moment of my life, okay? And I realized that the people around me were very toxic and really had no desire or want to change. So when I realized that, it's at that point, it's like, why am I holding space for somebody that has no desire to be a better human, right? Or why am I grounding the light or diminishing my light for somebody else that, again, has no desire to elevate themselves, grow, mature, all the things? That's where the disconnect comes, right? So you may have noticed in childhood or even as you got older that you started to disconnect from your parents. That's natural, because at some point you're going to notice that the gaslighting, the hoovering, the dog whistling was all manipulated. It was manipulation. So here's an example of dog whistling, because when I say that, that's one of the comments that I get. What does that mean? So I'll give you an example of mine. So say I'm going out to dinner or to a family function with my narcissist, right? And while I'm getting ready, you know, this person is throwing little digs, throwing little jabs, saying they don't want to go, which is now bringing my vibration, my frequency down, right? Maybe saying something like, "Ooh, are you going to wear that?" Or, "Oh, I thought we were supposed to dress up more." Meanwhile, you dressed like you look good, but they're knocking at you, right? It's like a tree. They're just, what's it called? Death by 1,000 cuts. Okay. So that's dog whistling. They're cutting you down. So now something that you were so excited to do now just doesn't seem real exciting. And honestly, you don't even want to go, right? You don't even want to be there, because now you're going to have to, because they knocked you down so much, now you're going to have to play fake. Like everything's great. You may be a little paranoid, like, hey, am I overdressed? Am I underdressed? Instead of that person coming to you and saying, hey, you look beautiful, let's go. You know, they're going to do everything in their power to knock you down, make you self-conscious of what you're wearing, and make you feel like shit. So now when you arrive at the dinner or you arrive at this special occasion, you kind of feel like, what the hell? Like, again, I don't even want to be here. You know, in my case, I would blow it off and I would enjoy my time with those particular people, because I know that those times in those spaces are important. You know, like say it's a graduation, or say it's a baby shower, or say it's, you know, even just dinner with that narcissistic person. That's very hard to sit across the table with somebody that continues to cut you down and make you feel small, or makes you feel like you need to dim your light. If you guys, real talk, if you guys feel like you have a purpose and you have a bigger light, and there are things that you need to do, there are things that you need to say, there are things that you need to observe, do that, right? Because every time that you're swayed by these psychopaths, narcissistic people, it's taking you off your path, right? So let's say that you are going to the baby shower, right? And the narcissistic person comes with you. Watch their body language. Listen to what they're saying to other people, right? Notice that it's fake. Notice that they are able to switch on and switch off that bully type energy, right? They're able to switch it on when it comes to you because they have intentions of bringing you down, right? Or they switch it off because they need that other person to see a beautiful mask, that they're a great person, right? They need that because they need their reputation to stay intact. So let's say that same narcissistic person, right? You're done with them. Now they've already future faked with you, and you understand that there is no future with this person, right? They're manipulating, there's deceit, there's a plethora of lies that you have caught, right? you have caught. It's not even secondhand. Like when I Googled my narcissist, and I started looking through stuff because in my head, my spirit team, I have a spirit guide named Justin that is real on point when it comes to stuff like this. And I Googled my narcissistic ex, and I realized that he was already married once before, but he had already told me that he was only married once. So how was he married twice? Hold on, let me re-Google this. DuckDuckGo, da-da-da-da-da, right? Uses his whole full name, right? And it's a very specific name. It's not like John Smith, right? There's nothing broad about this. And I Googled and then DuckDuckGo'd it because I was blown, just mind blown. And then whenever I came to him with it, I was like, hey, like I Googled this today. I was probably working on something else. And then I went down another rabbit hole because I was like, ooh, like, let me just, you know what? I already think his ass is cheating. Let me go ahead and look, you know? See what else I can find on his ass because I'm about to divorce him. So I was setting up my defense on why I was leaving, which is crazy to me now because you don't need another example of why this person's a piece of shit. Like as soon as it goes off in your head, just, yep, we accept it, we understand it, you know, we've seen it, we've experienced it. So now when people come to me and they're like, oh, Leigh, you know, you shouldn't say that. What? That was my experience with that person. I'm able to speak with it, which is interesting because think about all the people that say, see something, say something, you know? I'm like, okay, I saw something, I said something, and now you guys are mad. So, you know, you would think that living with somebody for 12 years would give me a stable foundation to be able to speak on how I was treated in this relationship, but for some people, no, and that's okay. So when you come up with this strategy to leave a very toxic relationship, because at this point you've done the healing, you've done the shadow work, you've done the shadow work for some of the people around you, you see the demons, right? You see the toxic ways because you had to look into yourself first to see your own toxic ways, right? To be able to play them through your head and go, wow, yeah, I did that. Why did I do that? Don't just accept that you did something. Try to figure out why you did it, because a lot of times it may be just a repeated behavior that you picked up from childhood, right? You could have picked it up from your mom, dad, aunt, somebody, uncle, whoever, right? So now you're repeating it on the flip side. And when you know maybe even you don't even like that this person does it, but when you're doing shadow work, you're going, damn, I do it too. Holy shit, you know? So when you realize that and you can look in the mirror at yourself and go, what have you done? Where are you picking this stuff up? Is it actually authentically you? Is it something that you would actually do? Because I noticed that when I was a single mom, I vowed to myself that I would never be like my parents. I would not be like them. Horrible, right? So I tilled up my own land, and then I had my own kids, and I was like, okay, we're gonna keep the weeds out, we're gonna keep the toxins out, we're gonna keep all the shit out. I want to teach my kids that intention is everything, power is everything, your light is everything. That was the one thing that I was dead set against teaching my kids, was be your true authentic self. Authentic self. There was times and periods that like my kids would go through like little stages, like a little emo stage, or a little, you know, like maybe one of the kids is with a really toxic person, so that toxic person's kind of rubbing off on them. Like that's not who they are authentically. But now this toxic person has created a bubbling of evilness, you know, within my kid, and now I'm seeing it. So I would go to my child and say like, hey, like what's going on? This is not your actual true authentic signature of energy. So what's going on? Let's talk about it, you know? And you know, most of the time they ended up breaking up with the person and then coming back to me and like, Mom, you were right. Like, I'm like, look, you have to do the shadow work. once you can see your own shadows, then you can see everybody else's too. And you can't unsee it because you've done so much authentic work on yourself for your worth, right? What do you authentically bring to the table? Authentically, not anybody else. I don't care if somebody else tells you that you are this, that, and the other, but are you? And why are they saying that to you, right? Most of the time, that is their strategy to reflect what they do onto somebody else, because remember, misery loves company, right? So I noticed that too, because although the narcissist in my life, although I grounded the light for him and I came to him like, hey, like, let's try to get help, let's try to go to counseling, let's go get some books, let's, try to fix this, let's try to and when I say fix this, I mean fix yourself, because if you are not stable or strong enough within your individuality, then you're not going to be able to come to the table with the next person to create a longevity of a relationship, because you're weak, right? You're too weak. Unequally yoked. Remember, it's a frequency. So if this one frequency, your ex narcissist, is super low all the time and you're trying to grow, it's going to be very hard to grow because you're constantly having to dim your light for them. You don't want to be too much. You don't want to say too much. You can't say much because they've conditioned you not to, right? And what came to mind, it was funny because when I was in the shower, this popped into my mind, and this was a lie that at the time I kind of went along with it, but I remember looking at him like, that's not true. Why are you saying that? So I went afterwards, like once that situation was over, I went afterwards to talk to him. I'm like, why did you say that? That wasn't factual. I don't want her to think that that's actually like how that went down, because my narcissist told my kids something that was not true. It was about her horse, that he bought her horse. And I'm like, no, but you didn't, So over time, I just started to kind of repeat that, because that's what was already laid in the stone. That was already projected. And I kind of was like, okay, but on the flip side of that, just a little side note, we had just moved, and no. That's when the horse came up there, up here to McDonough with us. But I had just went through a really bad, like a shitty situation. I will share that in later videos. But my youngest had asked for a horse. Well, at the time I was kind of like, holy shit, like how does this, how do I play this out? Like that's not a dog or a cat. Like this is a whole ass, like big beast of a thing. How do I do this? But I was getting child support from her father. So I went ahead and like, yes, let's do this. It'll help her, because a lot of times, like, animals are very healing, right? They're very healing. They can energetically pull from you. Cats can pull, evil spirits from you, kind of protecting you. So I thought, okay, fine, we'll just let her get it. But that was the running story, that my ex was the one that bought it. Now that I look back, I'm like, damn, like I didn't even stop the projection of that lie, so now she's walking around thinking that he bought it, so in this particular relationship, I just noticed that there was so many stories whirling around that were not true. And when I tried to set the record straight to say, hey, like we either have to stop lying or we need to stop the lies. Like, I don't even know what this whole relationship, this marriage is confusing as hell to me. Like, I don't know where I stand. I don't know, I had to disconnect. I did tell my oldest daughter that there was going to be a period of time that we did not talk. I did not talk with any of my kids. I knew that there was going to be a period of time that happened. I saw it in my visions, right? And I shared that with my daughter, and I said, look, like, he's going to lie to you. He's going to make up whatever the hell, because he knows us, right? He knows me and my kids because he was with us for 12 years. Because his ex-wife kicked him out and he needed a place to stay. And my dumbass was like, oh, let me fix him. Like, no. But I had to get out of that fog, that condition, that I felt so broke down, you know, and I was like, holy shit, like this whole marriage is a lie, and I hate it. I hate being in this, because when I would post stuff on Facebook, like, we just went to Canada, or, you know, we just went somewhere, and everybody's like, oh, I love you guys, relationship goals. I remember the last time that somebody said that, and I was just sick to my stomach, because I'm like, you have no, this is not relationship. This is not goals. It's not goals, okay? The fakeness, if you want to fake like we did, rock on. That can be a goal. But to live in that on a day-to-day basis, no ma'am. Not when I'm the brunt end, and not when I'm the scapegoat, you know? So I had to shut that down, and the disconnect and then the strategy to leave is very important, because they are very sinister, and they do have a lot of masks that are not authentic. They're very manipulated and very deceptive, you know? So when you figure out your strategy, it's almost like you're gonna have to set up your own bank account. You're gonna have to disconnect completely from that person, because that person has studied you, okay? That person knows how to trigger you. They've done it this whole time, right? They know how to do it. They have taken from you, manipulated financially, mentally, all the things. Like, you should be at the bottom of your barrel. When you talk to friends and stuff like that, or if you talk to anybody on the phone, understand that they are recording you, okay? They are recording you, because what they're gonna do is not take responsibility for any of this, right? They're not gonna take responsibility. They're gonna push everything off on you and say it was your fault, right? Totally your fault. Although people that were actually in this storyline can say otherwise, right? But they're going to now take those people and they're going to condition them. And I noticed that over time, and I'll give you an example. When the kids got sick, my go-to was a Ziploc, and I would put 3 ice cubes in it. Like, say they were sick, they had fevers, they're laying in the bed. You know, when you're dying like that and you're sick, you don't want to have to get up and like drink water. But I made this little contraption in a Ziploc, 3 ice cubes. I would hand it to them. They just like, they're dead. Remember, they're just laying there wanting to die from their flu or whatever sickness. And then they put the corner in their mouth, pierce it, and then just let the water drip into your mouth as you're dying. Well, anytime that the kids, even after, like, my kids are grown, so even after they would get sick out on their own, anytime that they got sick, they would come home, because they knew that I would baby them. They knew that I had, you know, I would do herbal teas and my concoctions with doTERRA oils, or, you know, Young Living. I was actually with doTERRA. But, you know, I would make this little witchy concoction for them to like drink some of this or try this, and then meanwhile they have their Ziploc dripping in their mouth, you know. It's just interesting to me that that's how that was, time and time again. It was always, I'm sick, call mom, you know. But I noticed some of the conversations, or the little seeds, little devious seeds that my ex narcissist would say. Stuff like, you know, I'm kind of scared to get older because I don't know if your mom's going to take care of me. You know, and I'm thinking at the time, it would kind of throw me back. I'm like, what? Like, my kids come home, what? You know, and then I started thinking, wait, is that because you know you're a piece of shit? Wait a minute, is that because you know that you're going to end up being alone for the rest of your life and nobody's going to take care of you because you've bullied everybody because you're insecure? Like, is that it? But see, the seed that was planted was mom doesn't take care of anybody. Mom doesn't nurse people back to health. Mom doesn't, you know, so that little shadow was put onto me. Same thing with, you know, something that happened with my oldest daughter. When she was younger, she was molested by her biological father. And, you know, I was shook by it and somehow got blamed for it. So my family was really upset at me for even saying anything about it. And I'm like, what happens to see something, say something? Is it just my family? Like, no, they don't operate in the see something, say something? Or is it just me that can't see something, say something? Because my daughter just came to me and told me that she was molested. So am I not supposed to say anything? Because in my brain, I was pissed. and I called the pediatrician. Like, I don't know what to do. Do I call the cops? Who do I call? You know, and because her biological father was Air Force military, then do I notify them? Like, what happens here? What happened? I've never encountered this, you know? So I called the pediatrician, which then called the JAG, which called the like higher ups. I had a JAG fly down from wherever the hell he came from, but he's been with them forever. And he said, I've been on several cases, and he came out in tears, you know, of the things that she said to him. So, you know, in telling you all of that, I was still the scapegoat. It wasn't the fact that this guy molested their granddaughter, and I'm talking about my parents. It wasn't the fact that my ex did that to one of their grandkids. It was the fact that I said something that I told on him. You're damn right I'm telling on you. Don't do that to my fucking kid, you know? And I had my stepmom actually tell me that I shouldn't have done that because it's going to ruin his career. So I sat with a lot of guilt, a lot of like, maybe I shouldn't have, maybe, you know, but then on the flip side, I'm like, no, like who else is going to stand up for her? Do I just stay in the relationship? I just stay in it and let's look over it because we have a great life, and he's in the military. He went to the Air Force Academy. He went to the Naval Academy, and I shouldn't ruin his career because he fondled my fucking kid. I shouldn't say anything? No. That's my family. Welcome to my family. So when I disconnected from all of these people, now they're starting this smear campaign, you know, and I knew it because all of the things that I had told them that they're going to do, just like with my narcissistic ex, I play by play told him, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and then you're going to go and find some young girl to try to piss me off, and then you're going to date her. And literally everything is playing out right now. Go look at his pictures. Go look. How old is she? You know? But then I started realizing too, any party that we had at the house, like we would have adult friends over, and then we would have like the kids would have like their friends over. And I was sitting on the back patio and I'm talking to them or whatever. And it's like the guy and then like the wife and I are talking or whatever. Well, the guy kind of looked bored. And he kept saying like, where's, and then like said his name. And I was like, I don't know, you know, and at first I thought, well, maybe he's going to get some beer and then he'll be back. And no. Then the wife and I were talking, and then I started laughing, and he was like, what? And I said, I know where you can find him. You can find him right outside the garage watching all the young girls, watching them, right? That's where you could find him. So he went around the corner, I guess, like for like several minutes or whatever, like left. I figured he went and found him, and then came back, and he started laughing. He's like, yep, you were right. And I'm like, yeah, there is a mental illness that either his brain is immature and he doesn't understand that like that's wrong, or he's into younger girls, which if I go all the way back, the mental illness that I even noticed that I see now that I guess I saw it then, but I just want to give people the benefit of the doubt to do right and be a good human. But over time, if they can't do that, then I guess I'm SOL, right? So way back is when I noticed that he would be in Robin's gymnastics, and he would always, like the older girls, maybe like 15, 16 years old, he would hug them and just like really hug them like for a long time, and longer than what it should have been, let's say that. And I noticed that the parents, the gym moms would talk about it, would say stuff like, I think it's inappropriate, like he shouldn't do that. So again, overlooked that flag, and then I get into the relationship, overlooked that flags, and then now I'm like, I knew it, because I could tell you what he was about to do, you know? And when he and I got into like our huge last argument, I started my strategy to leave him, and I said something about like, well, you ruined my relationship with my son. You know, like Brandon and I were getting really good communication. We were starting to like build our relationship again. And I said, well, you've ruined that. And he nodded his head and laughed, and he goes, yeah, I'm working on the other two. So if you're ever wondering why me and my kids do not speak, it's because my ex has lied to them and openly confessed it. You know, and I do point people to my YouTube channel to watch, because I've watched it a couple times, and I've tried to put and for healing purposes, like put myself on third party if I were to see this couple and watch the body language and watch who has the empathy, who has, you know, holds certain characteristics in that particular video. Like, I am not me in that video. I am a third party watching it. I feel sorry for me because I see the cold. It's just, he's so cold. And when you're dealing with a person that has mental illness, one thing that I realized, they do live with a lot of guilt, and they live with a lot of shame. And I'm sure that comes after the fact, because think about it. If you come across a narcissistic person, they are very immature emotionally. Their emotional intelligence is not there. So that's why people will say that it's almost like communicating or talking to a 5-year-old. You know, when you bring them something that bothers you, or if you bring them something that, you know, maybe hurts you, and, you know, you're in a relationship, whether you're in a relationship, you're married, fiance, whatever, if you bring that person information like that you're expressing to them, like, hey, this really hurts me, and they go off on a tangent, or they turn it around, or they make it your fault, or now they're talking about something that you did back in 1963, and they're not even focused on the actual thing that you just brought to them, that is a huge red flag. Number one, they're not taking responsibility. Number two, they're not wanting to fix it because they're continuing to put it off on you. They're not saying, oh my God, like, how did I make you feel? I didn't mean to say that way, and and maybe I was doing this, and I'm really sorry. But then they're also, a healthy person is going to also keep note of that and not ever do that again, right? It's not something, a healthy person is not going to want, if they are in a relationship with either like a relationship, say friend, or even a spouse or fiance, that kind of thing, they're not going to want to disrupt the energy within that relationship if they did something wrong. Because remember, we all know that we're not perfect, right? But if those two people are wanting to build a foundation and come together, then there has to be a communication. They don't want the communication. They don't want to be told that they ever did anything wrong, right? They just want to be a 5-year-old in an adult body and live how they want to live and do really weird, creepy shit with underage girls, okay? So that is the strategy to leave, is to go back and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is why, but you have to have that communication again with yourself. That communication has to be, how do I leave? I understand, I see, right? You see that there's going to be, you know, a lot of pushback. They're not going to take responsibility. They didn't in the relationship. What would make you think that they're going to do it on the outside of the relationship? Okay. Not going to do it. Right. So at this point, when you are creating your strategy to leave, also understand that they are recording you. Okay. They have people watching you. Okay. I had, and he told on himself, and that I would just fall out laughing, because I would say stuff like, well, you know, he would bring up Afghanistan, or no, he was in Afghanistan. And he would bring it up. And I told him, I was like, well, why would you have somebody watching me? You know, and I was giving him that opportunity, like, okay, maybe he's going to say for protection because he's overseas and I'm now a single female, so to speak. Not single as in like, not with, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't say protection. He said, because he couldn't trust me. And I'm like, how can you not trust me? I don't lie like you. I don't do that. You know, if anything, I over communicate. And now that I realize that is actually a trauma bond, that is actually a really toxic thought process that I picked up from my childhood, that I had to over explain stuff to people that took no responsibility even in understanding what I was saying, right? So when you're coming through this strategy to leave, like what I did, because I knew that he was recording me. So when I would speak to friends, I would speak in code, or I would speak in like backwards. So if I was talking to you on the phone, let's call your name Jenny. If I was talking to you, Jenny, on the phone, I would say out loud, well, gosh, I'm not even talking to Jenny. All my friends are leaving me. I don't even have anybody to talk to, because I knew that he was going to undercut that and then either go to Jenny, spin his lies, or what, you know what I'm saying? It's always a spin of lies. There's always a web that they are creating on the outside, right? Well, he fucked up because one time he said, I didn't have anybody following you, and I didn't have anybody. I said, which he already confessed. So at this point, I'm like, he don't even fucking remember the fucking lies that he tells at this point. Like, he's just, and even listening back to, because I had a plethora of recorded conversations between us. And at first I was still in the mental cognitive, like I was dissonance, like what? And then now whenever I listen to it, I'm just like, he was really trying to get me to think or see lies that didn't even, like, he stood very strong on his lies, let's put it that way, you know. So I say use their game against them, you know, because remember, he also studied you, but over time you had to study him too to stay out of the fire, right? So in our house, I knew when the energy shifted, because I'm an empath, right? So I knew, because think about it. Say I was off and I was home, I'm cleaning the house, I'm doing all the things, right? I'm in my own energy, I'm dancing. Usually I have my headset on, music up, and I am all but screaming the song, dancing around the house, right? Love to do it because it moves the energy too, right? So as soon as I would do that, I knew that he was coming home. The garage door, and I'm like, oh, shit. You know, I'd run up back up to the loft because I'm like, I don't want to get hit with some dumb shit that he's about to bring home because he got pissed off from work to here, right? Ghost up in the loft, not coming down. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, the energy would shift. I knew it, I could feel it. And I would even tell him, I'm like, look, like, did you have a bad day at work? Like, what's going on? You know, like, how do you have a great day at work, but from work to home, now you're pissed? And then I wondered, is it a character that he gets into? Is it like he knows that he has to be, you know, like whenever in elementary school, when there was like a bully, you know, and you stayed clear of them because you knew that, like, if you had to interface with them, they were going to try, like, just be mean to you. They're just going to, they have to. And you stay out of the way, but then, like, you often wonder, or now as an adult, you see that kid that is a bully that has to take all of their shit out on all the kids at school is probably beat at home, is probably abused at home, right? So they now take all of that all towards all the kids at school because, number one, they don't know how to regulate. They can't regulate. They're a kid, right? They don't know how to regulate. They don't know how to communicate, right? If you're in a toxic household like that, I bet your ass they ain't communicating. They're yelling and throwing things, right? So now this little bully Billy is over here projecting all of this to the kids at school, right? So then now go up to adulthood. What is that? You know, what are they doing? They didn't overcome what happened to them as a kid. So that means they need to do extensive shadow work. But now they're barfing their bullshit on everybody that's in the house, right? Not on the outside, because I'm sure that when Billy the bully is with his parents, he's, you know, he probably acts pretty good, right? Because he doesn't want to have to interface with the mom and dad that's going to, like, fuck him up, right? So now the bully goes to, he's at home, or the bully goes to work. He's on his best behavior because he knows that he has to be, right? To get that job, to stay in the job, to move up the ladder. So he may you know, kiss ass, or he may, you know, like that kind of thing, like, right? Even in the workplace, they are vicious. They will lie about the next person so easy to, number one, make themselves look better in the boss's eye, or number two, make themselves feel better as if they're doing something great. They have no self-regulation, right? None. That's another reason why they don't even know how to, like, they don't understand who they are either, or they would be able to regulate that. You know, they don't understand that what their parents did to them as a child was the reflection of them. It had nothing to do with you. And although I understand that it hurts you, you know, but you can't barf it on the next person. That your relationships are going to go like this. Nobody's going to stay with you because of your bullshit, you know? So when I went back through my ex and I realized, like, damn, he was already married once. You know, she got rid of him, and then he was married again, had 3 kids. She got rid of him, and then got kicked out. And then now he's at my house with his sob story. And of course I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why would she do that to you? Or like, why, you know, I don't know. But again, I was bamboozled. I was lied to, you know, and I go into each and every relationship that I have with trusting the person. Over time, if you keep showing me lies and deception, I mean, what else do I have to take off of that relationship, right? You're considered a pathological liar that is going to manipulate. So when I realized that and saw who he was, I was like, shit, now I have to come up with a strategy to leave. You know, now I need to realize that I'm going to have to go get another bank. I'm going to have to, like, change all my passwords because he studied me. He knows words that I would use, you know. But I noticed that the smear campaign on the outside of that was getting pretty intense, right? There are going to be so many things: gaslighting, dog whistling. I talked about that earlier. Hoovering, right? So with me, I filed for divorce, and I had to, obviously we're living in the same house. I moved my stuff to the spare bedroom. And I was starting to cut the cord. I'm done. Like, you're just really sick. You're really just, ugh, you know? And I had to learn how to now confront this person, or stand up for myself, or put up boundaries now with a person that I just unmasked. I just unmasked him. No, this is who you are, and I know it. You know, you're just mad that I know it. And that's why you feel that you need to go around and lie to everybody about me. I don't have to lie I don't have to lie to anybody about you. All of this is true. You know, so when I realized that they were using those tactics against me is when I was like, I'm done. You know, there was a lot of things that went in the household that the kids do not know. Although my oldest daughter has heard them several times, because I would be on the phone with her and he's just going psycho in the background, screaming at me, cussing at me. Cunt, bitch, whore was his favorite name for me. She had to now text him, and mind you, my kids are adults. She had to text him and tell him, stop talking to mom that way. Stop bullying her, okay? And he didn't, and he still doesn't. You know why? Because he's still back in Billy Bully land. That he front lobe not developed. 5-year-old. You're dealing with a 5-year-old when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. They do not regulate their emotions. So now that I've divorced him, right? I've gone through all the bullshit with him. His smear campaign. He went across the street to our old neighbors that he absolutely hated. I thought it was interesting that I was like, why the hell are you ever there? Hated these people, but at the end, once I filed and we're separated in rooms, I was cooking dinner, and I texted him and I said, hey, like, I'm cooking dinner, you know, it's about to be ready. And he was like, I'm across the street, we're grilling out. And I just laughed. Oh my God. I got such a kick out of that because I knew what he was doing. You know, hates these people, but he needs other people to be on his side, right? He needs to go ahead and start this smear campaign that this is my fault, that I'm the toxic one, that I'm the one that has caused all these problems, right? Yeah. So he did that, and I was just so ready to get out of there. But I think when he started to really threaten me is when I realized that I came downstairs one time and he was making steroids in the kitchen. And I remember standing there like, I do not want to be a part of that. Like, when you go down, I do not want to go down with that. So I took pictures of it, and I took videos of him doing this, and took pictures of, or screenshots of the Amazon, which he's so stupid. I took pictures of the Amazon cart, and it clearly is like a whole Breaking Bad how to make steroids. So, you know, he got real big mad about that, because now it's just proof that he's still a shitty person. You know, and I knew I had to use his game against him, and I knew what he was doing. And once I ghosted completely, I don't think he thought that I was going to ever do that, but I wanted to get out of there so bad. I did not want to be there. I did not want to be with him anymore. His kids are horrible. It was just so toxic that I feel like mentally, emotionally, physically, I was done, you know, and shit really started to spin off after I recorded all the steroid stuff. He was walking around the house with his Glock, telling me that he could make me disappear. And I told my attorney, and she was like, you need to get out. She actually called the salon that I worked at and was like, you need to leave. You need to leave. This is getting real crazy. And so I left, and, you know, it was nice because even whenever I was there, the first couple nights I broke down. And I remember just laying on the floor and just sobbing, like, oh my God, I'm relief. It's almost like, think of a boat. And you're on this boat, and it's so beautiful, and everything around you is so beautiful, and it's magical. And then all of a sudden this storm comes, and you could feel that your balance is off, and you could feel that you're not able to even regulate your energy because of this storm, right? It's keeping you topsy-turvy. It's keeping you in a lax state. It's when you're trying to grow, right? You're trying to grow, and the things around you are not only threatening your life, but on a daily basis, sabotaging you. You have to get out. I don't care how bad you think you love this person. There's no love there. That's not love, okay? When I started to realize this and realize that I grew up in a really toxic family, that my dad cheated on my mom, and my mom was always working. And then here I am in this relationship that he was always cheating on me and I was always working. I'm replaying the same, like, toxic, now I'm just living in it as a grown adult, right? No, I want better for myself. I want more for myself, and this is not it. Because once I started shadow work and realizing who was sitting at my table and who was actually for me and who was actually against me, is when I realized, like, I'm getting chills. I have to break out of this. And I know that there's going to be collateral damage. And he already said that he's going to fuck with my kids. Even after knowing all the shit that they've gone through, he is still going to damage my kids. And I laid on the floor and just bawled. Because I was like, this is not what I wanted. This is not the kind of sailboat water I wanted at all. But I was keeping a very false reality on Facebook, you know, relationship goals. And I'm like, no, you don't want this. Inside of my heart of hearts, I knew it was wrong. But now I'm going, how do I get out of it? How do I release myself from this? You know, so I started asking God, please release me from this. Cut these cords, because obviously I had sex with him. So now I have an energetic cord with him. You know, I noticed that even after I would have sex with him, I would feel sick, absolutely sick to my stomach. And then even at the end, at the very end, once I unmasked him and basically told him who he was, when I would have sex with him and I would feel sick for almost like a day and a couple days afterwards, you know, and I had asked him, I was like, look, like, I almost want you to wear a condom, and I don't want to, like, you know, but that now sparked, well, you don't want to have sex with me, da 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 da. I'm like, no, I'm just saying, like, I feel sick after we have sex. I don't like that feeling. But again, sex to him is not for two people to come together to create an energy portal to manifest. It's it's very shallow, and I was gonna say superficial, because normally narcissists, people with mental illnesses like this, are addicted to porn, and he was. There's no connection to porn. I said this in one of my other TikTok videos. When you have a person that is connected, like so addicted to porn, like they can get off on that, right? Think about it, that's only a screen. That is a screen. That's not a connection with another human in love, and just two bodies together, just, you know, because think about it, you have energy around you too, right? So I have an energetic field, so do you. So now we're together, and then we're connected, you know, like that's magical, that's beautiful. But when it comes from a very disconnected person, to where that disconnected now only wants porn, then where do I come in on that? That was one of the things that I would ask him. I'm like, if you are continuing to get yourself off on porn, which is his ex-wife, his second ex-wife found kitty porn on his computer. I didn't find kitty porn when I started to look through things, but I did notice that he was very attracted to younger girls. And when that disconnection happens, like if it's supposed to be a husband and a wife connection, and that husband doesn't have that connection, like even your sex life sucks, you know, because there's no interaction of feeling and a mutual understanding of the body, you know. Like I remember at one of the parties we had to get together at the house, and my youngest daughter's birthday is December 30th, so birthdays that fall in the latter part of the year, I kind of felt sorry for her, because then you would have like Christmas the 25th, and then you would have her birthday the 30th, and then you had New Year's, and that's a lot for even somebody to like. When I would invite people, like throw a party for her, I would invite people and then say, look, I just want you to show up. I don't even want a gift, you know, because everybody's already spent all their money. Now they have to get my kid a present. I don't even want your present. I want a body here so that we can all be, you know, my kid can have a great day, basically. And I had a little nudge. Justin, my spirit guide, was like, where is he? So I went to find him. And I walked outside to where he normally would have been perched up right in front of the garage, watching the young girls bump and grind on each other. He went there. So then I went to the back porch, went in there. So now I'm circling around the house, and I went upstairs, and I went to like the two side bedrooms, because it was kind of like two bedrooms on this side of the house and two on that side of the house. The master and then like the loft was on this side of the house. So I went upstairs, and I turned the corner to walk into my master bedroom. At that time, I was still in that room. And one of the young girls, like ran out, and she's doing this. I was like, where'd you come from? What are you doing? So I talked to her. I was like, hey, like where's, and then I said the name. Well, I noticed that at that time, then she started to kind of stutter. And she started to kind of like steer me out of the master. She was like, hey, let's go find your daughter. She said her name. And I'm kind of thinking, why are you trying to get me out of this room? My ex was in the bathroom. I just busted them. So I had a couple choices to make at this point. Either one, it makes me want to cry. Either one, I could start a big stink and clear this fucking house right now, but that would ruin my daughter's birthday. Or two, I can confront him, and then he's going to ruin her birthday. So what do I do? Nice song in the background. You know, what do I do? I didn't do anything. I just added that to the tally of people that he's cheated on me with. Again, it was an underage girl. They were still in high school. But on the flip side of that, she was kind of the whore of the group. She's had sex with all the boys in the group. So why would I not think that she wouldn't do that with my husband at the time? So I ate crow. I didn't want to mess up my kid's birthday. I didn't want to cause a shitty vibration for something that was supposed to be celebrated. So at that time, I started to tally those kind of things up. Anytime that I would approach him with things like that, it would turn into a huge fight. Now, of course, everybody at the party, you know, some would spend the night, some would not, you know, and I'm just getting flooded with all the little other things that I busted. It was interesting to me though, because even if I saw it with my own two eyes, he would do his damnedest to deny it. And that's when I knew I had to get my strategy to leave. When I spoke to people, I spoke in code. When I spoke to people, I spoke in, like, if I was about to do something, like, hey, I'm about to go make a bank account or something like that, I would tell the person, like, no, there's no really reason for me to do that. Like, I have Cash App and, you know, that kind of thing. I was trying to steer him in the wrong direction because he had studied me so much. He knew everything about me. Here's another thing that I noticed too. I overshared. So I shared my life with him. When I think back through the time frame, I really didn't get a lot of his storyline. I didn't get a lot of his childhood. I didn't get a lot of his even teenage years. Most of it wasn't like fun times. It was most pity party times, you know? And then when I started to ask the people around them about the pity parties, they were clueless. They kind of acted like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, well, so-and-so said that like this happened. And they're like, so I'm like, oh shit, is he lying? Like it was just an unfold of an onion that was so big that I was enabling. I had to stop enabling it. I was the enabler. So I could see the dynamic. We had the narcissist, the enabler, me, because I'm allowing him to, you know, just do whatever. And then I noticed over time too, the more that she came over to the house, the more slutty she would look, like titties out, ass out, you know? And I'm like, the other girls didn't do that, you know? So the more that I saw this, the more that I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. And I have to forgive myself for being the enabler. And I have to forgive myself for allowing the toxicity in the relationship, you know? And one of the content creators that I fell in love with, honestly, it's the little Shaman. She is on YouTube, and then I think she's on TikTok too, but she explains it so well, and she healed me. I remember laying at the top of the stairs and crying in a fetal position, and I'm talking, it's the cry where you like lose the breath. You lose your breath in crying, where you're just like, it's an out, right? You're holding on like to yourself. And that was the beginning, I knew, of my spiritual journey and my spiritual healing and my spiritual awakening. Because when I cut that energy off and I became conscious, right? I was doing this whole time. No, he didn't cheat on me. No, I just didn't see this girl in my fucking bathroom wiping her lips and then he comes out with, girl, wake up, open your eyes. I didn't want to open my eyes because I was wanting so bad for that white picket fence and that beautiful marriage that he said that we would have, right? I was banking everything else off of that. And that was a lie too. So once the divorce was final, which I think the divorce is kind of funny, when it was final, because I actually told him that it's going to be on 6. I said I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the finalization was on 666, because this is some demon shit. It was finalized on 666, June 6th, 2022. Add the twos together, 6. So that kind of made me chuckle. But then after that, and I was out, I was so happy. Like, you know, not happy because I was mourning having to lose like my dream, but then I was also mourning having to, like, I don't want to say lose my kids, but because I didn't lose them, they're just being manipulated and brainwashed right now. Although it's interesting to me that my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter both said to me, please leave him. Please get out of here. He is so mean to you and he is so rotten to you and you deserve better, right? So both of them are saying that. But once I left, my vow was to never, I hope I don't see him again. Hope I don't talk to him again. I hope all the things. Well, my son and his fiance at the time were pregnant and they had the baby or whatnot. Well, my ex is the one that actually told me about my granddaughter, which made me laugh because I'm like, I divorced you for a reason, sir. Like, I don't really want to hear from you again. And number one, those are my kids, not your kids. So, why are you telling me this? I divorced you for a reason. Like, I don't want to be around. You're gross. You're gross. You know, I don't want to be around you. And my kids are obviously adults. They can make their own decision, but go ahead, continue to lie to them. And that's how that's how they're in your life because you're lying to them. So it's not even an authentic relationship, you know, like you're stupid. But that was the last contact that he made. Well, not last contact, but he did make that contact with me that you're grandma now. I'm like, I already knew that. I have friends that tell me and keep me up to date with stuff. So you jumping in 5 days later after the kid's born is kind of stupid, you know? But they're stupid. Kid, 5-year-old, no front lobe, gone. So they create a conflict, confusion, and deception. What is that? Satan? That's what I learned when I started with spirituality. It's also what I learned whenever I was studying demonology. You know, that's why I also say it's very important for you to study demonology. What are you looking at? What are you feeling? Your body is energetically going to feel that. Your body keeps the score from every trauma that you've had. Every trauma keeps the score. So, you know, figure out the spirituality, figure out how to communicate with your spirit, figure out how to communicate with your spirit. You have a spirit inside of you. Excuse me, I'm burping, confirmation, you know? So I love you guys. I want you to heal. That's why I am so open about my story. I went through it, okay? But it is magical on the other side of that. If you've ever dreamt of anything so magical, the magic is inside of you. It's not on the outside. It's not something that somebody's going to give you. It's not something that church is going to give you. They just want you to pass the plate so that they can make the mortgage or the note, whatever. Okay? I don't want you to underestimate yourself. I don't want you to underestimate the things that you've seen, right? Don't walk around like this. No. Whatever truth that you've seen that. Right? Nobody can take that from you. Nobody. Not even the person that committed the adultery. You know? Like, even with my childhood, I held on to the blame of my dad cheating on my mom. Because my dad, at a young age, I was like 14, he's the one that told me that if I had not answered the phone, because remember, look, we weren't on cell phones back then, right? We had the 16-foot cord connected to the wall. And I picked up the phone as his wife, no, not even wife, my mom was at church. I picked up the phone when his mistress was calling the house. You know, so when she called the house, I picked it up and now I was blamed with it. Dad didn't even take responsibility for it. He blamed me for ruining the family. Narcissism. So when I realized that, I was like, wow, I feel so much lighter. Because now I understand even storylines. Now I understand contracts. Now I understand your personal storyline, right? If you're walking your storyline and somebody else puts garbage in your storyline, walk past it. It's not your garbage. They're going to try to put it in there because they don't want to have to deal with it. They don't want the responsibility of having to take that garbage to the dumpster, right? They're just going to keep fucking with you. They're going to keep putting their garbage in your lane until you say something. So I said something and I told on my dad. I didn't know what to do as a 14-year-old. What was I supposed to do as a 14-year-old? I didn't know. What do I tell my best friend that lived in the neighborhood? She's not going to understand that. You know, so at this point, I'm a whistleblower. I've even walked into that. Like at this point in my life, if I can look back through my storyline and I can look at, I was a whistleblower when my dad cheated on my mom, right? I was a whistleblower when all this shit went out with the Patriots and the white hats, right? Whistleblower for all the truth stuff, truth seeker. And then I was a whistleblower for my ex-husband too. And I was also a whistleblower for my daughter's dad that molested her, right? I'm going to tell. See something, say something. You can't dictate when I say something, especially if you're the character that's the toxic one in the relationship, you know? So I love you guys. I want you to get on this side, okay? See your family for what it is, for who they are, right? That means my dad never went back and did shadow work. My dad didn't heal from the trauma from his childhood. My dad didn't heal from all that stuff. So what he did was he carried it into the next relationship. Because now even that, the lady that he's married to, he's cheated on her too. And I know that for a fact because he asked me to cover up his lies. No, thank you. And then he got mad at me because I said no. You know, I'm like, I'm the whistleblower. I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that's going to call out your bullshit. You know, and they don't like that. You know, so I want you to get strong. I want you to understand your worth. I want you to understand why they sabotaged you, why they came against you. They don't have the regulation. They need somebody to feed off of. His second ex-wife was kicking him out for cheating on him. He told me a totally different story, but then planted her against me. So now we're in a triangulation. So I didn't want to talk to that bitch and she don't want to talk to me. Now we hate each other. Why? Because of his lies? Why wouldn't he want us to come together and share stories? No? Because then we'd figure out that he's a piece of shit? Oh, so do you see? It's the mental illness. It's the same play, same storyline, same playbook. I used to say that to him all the time. I would say something like, I'm sick of trying to figure out where the goalpost is because every time I figure it out, you move it. You move it. I don't give a fuck where your goalpost is anymore. You're a piece of shit, you know, point blank. I mean, what else do we need, you know? And I don't know. It's freeing. It's exciting, you know? And they're always going to manipulate. They're always going, they're backdoor shit, okay? Same. He's still doing it. Still doing the same shit. Now I'm moving out of state to get away from even like the people that I know that he had, like my neighbors across the street that he lied to. He could not stand those people. He even said he would burn their house down. But then now he's over there swimming in their pool and grilling out. Do you see? No, if I don't like you, I'm not talking to you. No need. You know, it's warped. Learn what the mental illness is. Learn what narcissistic personality disorder. It's a personality disorder. Think about that. Personality disorder. What is your personality? Right? What is the toxic person's? There's going to be little things in that you're going to find that is going to resonate. You're like, damn, they do that. Or damn, they... Because I realized that when I was going through the shadow work with my parents, with shit that my dad did and then shit that my mom did. And then I would go to him and I would talk about it. I'm like, hey, like I realized this and I went through this book and this is what it is. And oh my God, da 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 da. And I did it several times until I had to take the blinders off and go, oh my God, he's doing that too. Oh my God. He's doing that too. You know, so I planned my strategy. I got the people around me my friends, actual friends, not people that claim that they were, right? Not people that were fake, just as fake. I got my friends around me and started to heal myself. I was able to reach a point of regulation within my own energy so that I could heal. Because again, you're going to try to ground the light because they're going to give you some sob story, right? I was beat as a kid. That's what mine said to me. And when we were at his mom's house, and I said something to her, and well, let me back up. His mom is lesbian, so she's got a wife, right? So that's why when I say his mom and then mom. So he told me that his mom, biological mom, beat him. But then whenever I said it to his mom, that I guess they were together, she seemed clueless. She seemed like, what? What do you mean? So when I said something to him, now he turns it into a big, why'd you even have to say that? I was like, well, I thought it was true. So I just was like, yeah, it's really upsetting that like, that's how he was raised at first, you know, and like, but I got in trouble. So then I got conditioned to don't speak, you don't speak, which then closed my throat chakra. I was scared to speak. I was scared to say anything because it could get me in trouble. What if I didn't, what if I said something wrong? You know, if I'm in Mississippi and I live in Georgia and now I piss him off, you bet your ass for a whole 8 hours, however long it takes, you're going to get your ass handed to you. So do we want to disrupt the apple cart or no? You know, do we wait until we get home and then say something? Because at least then you can retreat or fucking leave the house. You know, if you're having to conduct your life like that in a fear-based mentality, get out. Get out. Nobody should live in a fear base. Nobody should live in some type of cognitive dissonance where it's not clear. You're not clear on boundaries. You're not clear on communication. You're not clear on trust. I couldn't trust him. Are you kidding? I couldn't trust him with where he was at, and I sure couldn't trust with what the fuck he was saying out of his mouth. Right? So what is there? There's no relationship if I know, I mean, shit, the divorce wasn't even over and he was already on Bumble, which I laughed at that because good play, my guy. Good play. The girls on Bumble have to reach out to him, right? So now he can clean slate, create whatever story he wants, right? He doesn't even have to work for it. He can just, some girl, hey, I think you're cute. What's your favorite color? And then hooked. You know, like, it's a thing. Wake up. Wake up to your true authentic self. Wake up to you, who you are. You were the light. You were the one that was keeping things organized. You were the one. I mean, anybody that has been to my house, I keep a clean house. I keep a clean house. I like organization. When he and I were married, there was nothing that he had to do. Nothing that he had to do. Laundry is already done. House is clean. I was pretty much the one that was doing the yard work. So, you know, all I needed him to do was be a good human, and he still couldn't even do that. And I realized that through our first video, well, actually second video that I made on my YouTube channel when I asked him, hey, can we do a video about our relationship? Can we do a video that would explain like 5D empath versus 3D demons, narcissists? And he agreed. And I was like, wow, okay, it's good. You know, because what I was setting him up. I was setting him up. And I love that he said at the beginning of the video, he said, yeah, I told Leigh not to tell me any of the questions or not to, you know, like prep him. And I was like, nope, I didn't. You know, so everything in that was authentic. And you guys see how he responded, you know, silence treatment, shoulder, you know, bum rushing me in the fucking hallway. I'm like, I'm little, I'm not a big man. And you see him. I mean, I haven't seen him in a while. So I don't honestly know what he looks like. Probably like shit because I took my energy back from him. But he would shoulder check me. So all of this is in this video, right? And afterwards, when I said something to him about it, now when he would try to gaslight me, I would go back and be like, well, in the video, you said this. So which is true? He didn't like that. So I just used his game against him, you know, and from there it was ghost, no contact. Once everything was over, I don't want to talk to you again. I don't want to see you again. I don't care, okay? You're a piece of shit human and you know it, and you choose not to do anything about it. So at this point, I have nothing for you. You and your kids, nothing for you. You know, he tries to reach out. At this point, he's messing with my alimony. On one hand, he would tell people, yeah, we just need to get divorced. It was very, what is the word? Applicable? No, that's not even a word. Make up words. It was very like, we just came to the agreement that we were just going to get divorced. Some people heard that story. most people heard that I was crazy and I was the one that was doing all these things, and that he was just going along to get along, right? He was just doing that. Yeah. So conflicting stories, right? Always a conflicting story. Watch for that. You know, understand they want ultimate control, okay? They're going to control the narrative. They're going to control what you think. Just like I said earlier in the video, he tried to control that I am not a good, like, caretaker, that I don't take care of my peoples at all. Although that's not true, but he was trying to embed those little seeds into my kids to make me out to be the bad person. And I'm like, okay, so watch those, be aware of those, open your eyes, see more, right? And yes, it's scary, and you may have a tower moment, and it's really hurtful and it's shitty, but the other side, I promise you, is bliss. It's not ignorance, but it is bliss. You know, you were in ignorance, now you just want bliss, you know? So in all of this, I knew that he was going to mess with alimony. I knew that he was going to, like, again, I predicted the majority of this, although he says, no, I did not. But, you know, cause patterns, call me, what is it? Neurotypical? Call me that, because I see patterns, and he was in arrears on child support. So why wouldn't I think that he would do that to me when he would do it to his own kids? My kids are not his kids, right? I did not raise my kids like that. Which brings me to another thing within the family. I would tell my girls, like, please do not pick up their toxic traits. Please do not, you know, like with my youngest daughter, she was in college, and then his youngest daughter was in college too. Well, I found out that her older sister, who is really, really smart, the oldest, not the second, the oldest daughter was writing her papers in college and taking her tests in college. So I said something to my ex, her father, and I'm like, hey, like, don't you think that she should learn the material? Like, she's not even learning the material to be able to do this profession. And then now whenever she graduates, goes into this profession, she's not going to know shit. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything, nothing. So then I went to my daughter now, my youngest, and I said, please do not do that. Like, if you don't know something, I will get you a tutor. Please do not have other people do this work for you. If you need a tutor, if you need somehow to learn it, then please, like, I need it in your head. I don't want you to be a cheater like that. Okay. Again, right? Not my kids. Don't do that. So it was hard to raise a blended family that have polar opposite personalities, thought process, all the things, right? It's very hard to raise kids together like that. So I felt like I was always going to my kids going, here's what just happened. Please do not do that. Okay. I want you to be a good human. I want you to have integrity. Okay. I want you to understand your worth, and don't treat people like that. Do not treat people like that. And they're like, no, Mom, but they saw it. They saw how they were too. I'm like, please, if anything, use them as an example of how not to be, right? It's not good. That's a shit of a human. Don't do that. So it's hard, but once you get out of it, then you're like, I see it, you know? No contact is really good. I broke contact the other day because when I went and filed I guess it's arrears. I filed the contempt charge for him for not paying the alimony on time. I filed that in June, and then I filed another one in July, and then I also filed garnishment from his wages, because again, this is a control thing. He wants to control me. I know he has money. He could pay me, but he's going to have an excuse as to why he's not going to, or he's going to have an excuse as to why he did it. You know, always excuses. Expect an excuse. He's not going to follow the court order, right? Not the court order. He's going to he's going to follow what he wants to do, right? It's always what he wants to do. Very egotistical. It's very my way. It's very superior. It's what I think, you know. Yeah, yeah. So when I filed that, I broke contact because I had to contact one of the guys, I guess, that works with him, that like, hey, do you know the human resource, I think is who I asked for, human resource person, because I had to address them on my garnishment filing. And the guy came back and was like, who is this? And I said, hey, it's Leigh. You know, like, hey, your little friend is in arrears. I'm not surprised, because he was in arrears on child support. You know, meanwhile, he has his daughters calling him or messaging me that I'm a bitch because he won't pay child support. How am I the scapegoat? You know, like, how am I getting blamed for something that he's supposed to be responsible for? Again, I'm not taking that. You guys that keep blaming everybody else around him need to look at the person that's disturbing the energy, that's disturbing the peace. Look at that guy, right? They don't want to look at him. So I feel like it's conditioning. I feel like it's going to shake their narrative. I feel like it's going to, you know, it warps, it messes up the dynamics and the what's the word? The levels of people. So there's a pecking order. You know, you have like the narcissist, then you have the enabler, then you may have the scapegoat, then you have the golden child, then you have, you know, like it's all this, you know, that kind of thing. Then you have like usually the bottom one, the last kid is usually left out. Like you've had so many fucking kids that now it's just like everybody gets lost in the shuffle, right? I didn't want that for my kids anymore. I was tired of seeing my kids in a false reality world, is why I started to talk to them about all of this. They're adults, you know, we can talk. We had a really good communication. I would talk to my oldest daughter almost daily. And that went from almost daily to nothing overnight. And from what I've gathered, it was over like a mortgage, or it was over the mortgage, which she said that my daughter said that I didn't deserve any of the proceeds or half of the house, because I didn't work, because I didn't have a 9-to-5 job like he did. So I didn't deserve any of that. And I'm like, okay, do you remember going to the pageants? And I would come home with thousands of dollars for hair and makeup? Is that not working? Or what about whenever I opened my boutique in McDonough and I made over $100,000 in my first year? That's not working? Okay. What about my bracelets and all the things and the crafts and the, you know, no. Wreaths, all the wreaths, the little pillowcase dresses. What about the thousands of dollar dresses, the pageant dresses that I made? No, that's not working. Do you see the cognitive dissonance? I don't deserve shit, but he does. Who do you think put that in her head? Yeah, Satan himself. So I love you guys. I want you to heal. I'm sharing my story because I want you to see the examples so that it'll resonate with you. This is real shit. I went through this and I'm stronger now. And I'm more complete. I'm more fulfilled. I feel whole. I don't feel fractured. I don't feel like I have a bunch of holes in me. I don't feel like it's death by 1,000 cuts. All of my cuts are at least sealed. Maybe not completely healed, but they're not pouring blood anymore. I'm getting stronger. I'm learning more. I'm centering myself. I'm around amazing people now, which was another thing that I called in. I went through a period where I had to push out all the toxic people. I had to get rid of them, right? Which then made me feel like I was Swiss cheese. I was holy. I was like, holy shit, I feel real vulnerable and I feel very exposed right now because I was so used to have these comfortable people that played a character in my life, right? Now I've dismissed all of them because they're toxic as hell. I'm like, no, these are boundaries. You're not talking to me like that. This is a boundary. I don't deserve that from you. You know, and they know it. So yeah, you know, once you realize that, then you can come over here and go, okay, I understand. I feel I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to put myself back together. And then, Lord, I want you to bring in good people. I'm tired of going through these narcissistic, evil people, demonic. I don't want them in my life anymore. I'm not going to be a people pleaser. I'm tired of building a bear. I don't want this. Please give me people that are going to help me in my ascension, that are on the same timeline, that are on the same frequency, that are going to hold me accountable for the things that I do. I want those people, not the people that are going to tear me down and make me feel small all the time. I don't want that. Cut that portion off. Got into this portion. It was slow. About six months, I just stayed to myself. Like I don't really want, I had my family at work, and that was it. That was it. I studied. Either all of this trust stuff, or I studied personal growth. I studied mental illness. I studied demonology. I studied spirituality. I studied Gnostic. I studied everything, because I was trying to heal myself. And I knew that I had to do it myself, because everybody else around me may not even be on that journey. I can't expect somebody that's not on that journey to do something, right? Can't. So what happens then? Then I have to call in your people. Call in the people that you want. What do you want? If I can manifest people, and I can manifest my person, my divine partner, right? My divine masculine, not a little boy that's broken that I'm going to have to mother. No, I don't want that. I want a divine masculine that understands who he is. I'm not expecting him to be perfect. Nobody is. But I want that. I want friends that want to see everybody grow. There's no competition. Remember, mental illness, competition. If all of a sudden you feel like you're in competition with somebody, red flag to me. Red flag to me, because if we're all on the same path, we all have the same storylines, then we should all help each other grow. If I'm higher in my ascension, then I should help people that are lower than me to get up here. If I'm higher in my ascension, don't know why I can't say that word. I'm stuttering now. Cool. If I can't, I should be able to help these people. But if this person's here, and now maybe they're here and they're getting, close to me, I don't push them down. Why would I do that? That's their storyline, right? So I want you to be the best authentic self of yourself. And when you start to look at the gaslighting, and you start looking at the hoovering, and you start looking at the dog whistling, and all the things, that person's no good for you. Okay? They're not. They say they are, but words not matching action is manipulation. I used to say this all the time. What you do and what you say are two different things. That would piss him off. It's true. What you do, how you behave, how you act, and what you're telling me and trying to create this grand life with me, two different things. Fun, future faking, but two different things. So understand your worth. Understand that there are demons. We don't fight against flesh and blood. And I think that's another reason why I stayed, because I tried so hard to remove those demons, and I tried to even work with him to, I'm like, I can only do so much. So I need you to do some of this work too, to get rid of these attachments and get rid of these things that are on your bloodline too, clearly. Shit. You could see the hot damn all over all of that. Gross. So thank you for joining me on my journey. Thank you for listening. I do love you guys, and I think you guys are great. Everybody that's on a healing journey, all these stories that I hear, all these oh my God, I feel like this, or hey, I've been no contact for this long. It's amazing. And every day that you are in no contact gets better and it gets better. Like, I don't even think of his ass anymore. It's not, there was a time that I would just mull over it, just da 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 da. Now I wake up and I'm like, no, because I have a purpose. He's not in my purpose. He's not on my storyline. He was to create a huge tower moment for me to learn. So I'm grateful. Would I have been where I'm at now in understanding and aligning with Christ and who I am had I not been with him? I don't know. Did he have to drag me to the bottom of the ocean with his toxic ways to get me to see? Maybe. You know, am I kind of bullheaded? Yeah. So maybe it was this type of, I was going to say abuse. Maybe it was this type of abuse, mental abuse, physical, you know. And that was another thing that I kind of hated about him, was he did not protect my heart. He hurt it. When you're coming into union with a person, right? This person is supposed to protect you. This person is supposed to, like, protect you not only from the outside, but protect you in the house. You know, like your heart, your mental. There should be a protection. And when you're around people that don't protect that, and they're using deception or they're using manipulation, that's a mental game, a mental fuck, you know, and then they're breaking your heart by going outside of the marriage, or they're breaking your heart because they're lying to your kids, or that's intentional. Please understand that that's intentional. Those are demons. Those are demons. Okay? So when you get clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're doing it for, what you're doing it for, it gets easier. You deserve more. Ooh, I felt like I couldn't, my throat went. I felt very blocked with him. I wasn't able to talk about his problems. I wasn't allowed to bring up my problems. We were just supposed to be this perfect goal, relationship goals, marriage on Facebook that everybody wanted to be. No, you don't want that. No, you don't want that at all. It's kind of like getting a car. Like, say you get, think of your car of your dreams, right? You get that car of your dreams and you're like, okay, it's beautiful, beautiful outside, right? It's gonna look great, you know, and you want to get in, but then you're like, no, because it's just so perfect, you know? And you create this story in your head, so perfect. Think about what my friends are gonna say. Think about how I'm gonna look, right? Think about it. My family will finally accept me. People will finally, right? And then you finally get the nerve to open the door and get in. And you're looking around, you're like, damn, this is nice. I like it. I'm here for it. So you make sure that it stays like dust free, right? You're not allowed to eat or drink in the car. You're not allowed to, don't play the music too loud. We don't want to bust some speakers, right? You're doing all this. And what happens is that person of your dreams sits in that car, right? You guys are creating all these memories and it's great. And all of a sudden you're like, let's go. Let's build. Like, you want to be a builder? I want to be a builder. Because remember, when you're sitting in that car, you're talking about all your dreams and you're talking about the manifestations and what you're into and how you want to grow, right? What you want to manifest. I want to have a business. This is how I want to grow it. That I want to do this with myself, and this is how I want to do with, I want to heal this and all the things, right? You're telling this person that is in this dream car. It's a dream. All the things about you. You want to build, you want to grow, you want to make things, create, right? But then you tell the person who's supposed to be in charge, which for us, I don't want to say in charge, but it would be the man, right? The masculine would be the driver, right? Not saying that women have to submit to men, because I think that's bull, but like you're letting him lead, right? The masculine leads. And he cranks that car, nothing. You're like, okay. So you sit back and you try to tell him everything's gonna be okay. It's fine. Look, we'll just do this. We'll try it again. No big deal. We're gonna grow. We're gonna do this. And this is what we can do, and we can build here, and we can, put this into this trust, and we can go over here, and it's gonna be a great life. He tries it again. Crank, nothing. You're going, okay, it's okay, right? And you do this several times, and then you realize that you're sitting in something that is so beautiful, but it has no engine. There's no drive. There's nothing. It's only ego. All you're doing is sitting in this sports car or whatever you want, this brand new Jeep, whatever you want, with a person that's kind of a dud. They don't perform. They don't produce. They don't have a dream. They don't have drive. They want all the show because they want everybody to think that they're the best thing. They're great. But once you sit in that energy with them and you start to sit in that space with them, you realize that that's lies. That's not even true. No drive. No introspection. No responsibility. So now, after you sat there in that beautiful car with them, and you've told them all of your dreams and all of your stuff and how you want to grow and what you want for your life and your goals and just all the things, how do you get out of that? How do you tell that person, hey, you're not adding up to anything that we were talking about. I kind of feel like you lied to me. Because what I'm seeing is not what is action. What I'm seeing is not what is happening. So I feel like it's deception. And then I also feel like you just bamboozled me. It's almost like a sheep and wolves, or wolves and sheep clip, whatever that is. Right? It's all lies. I noticed that at the end because right out the gate, I started building. Let's do this. Because I was doing hair and makeup on the weekends in the pageant industry, coming home with thousands. Like I'm stacking, because I'm like, let's move and let's do this and let's buy this, I mean, shit, I put the roof on. I paid for the roof in the Eastman house. My kids are watching since I didn't bring anything to the table. What are you going to do? How are you going to get out? What are you going to have to do? How are you going to have to strategically get out of this fuckery? How do you do that? I'm not going to be able to tell you that because I don't know what your narcissist does. I don't know how he moves. I knew how mine moved. And a lot of times I would bust his ass because I knew it. I knew before he was going to do. Narcissists have the same playbook. It's the same. It's not anything new. They don't know how to be new. They don't know how to create. This right side of the brain, gone. That's the creative side. They don't know how to do that. So when you're exiting the relationship, understand that person that does not know how to do that and regulate their energy also does not know how to be a good human. You're okay. It's not you. You were the light in that relationship. You were the truth in that relationship. And when it comes to a toxic person like that, they don't like you. They want enablers. They want somebody always around them to tell them how great they are. Always. And I did right off the rip because I was like, he's military. I love military people. But he's military and he does this and like da-da-da-da-da. And I would take up for him and all this kind of stuff. Well, once I started to realize that these are lies, because I would post him on my Facebook. He's such a good dad. He's such a great, husband. Lies. I stopped doing it over time and he noticed it. Why don't you post me anymore on Facebook? I'm like, what do I post? Post a picture of this guy. What do I write in the caption? He's so great. No, I don't think you're great. I think you're shitty. Every relationship around you is built off of a lie. Like, how is that? How do you like that? You like that? You know what I'm saying? So I had to remove myself. And from there, my life has gotten so much better. Even with that, I knew God told me that I was gonna, he was not going to give me my blessings or not going to give me my next piece of the puzzle because I was begging for it. It's like, y'all, come on, God, like, you playing games. He said he will not give that to me until I leave him, because he knows that if I came into a bunch of money, I would share it with him, and I would share it with my kids, and I would probably share it with his little demon kids, and you know, like, that's not for them. It's not for them. You picked sides. Stay over there. You know, God will separate you for that reason, because he knows your heart, and he knows that you would share those things with them and then leave yourself out. Most Christmases or even birthdays and stuff like that, I barely got something for birthday. Not really even a celebrated day, where I like to celebrate people's birthdays, which now I actually found out that they're spells. So I like to celebrate, and I want to make somebody feel great for that day, and I want to do that. But I noticed over time that when I would celebrate his birthday and then it would come around to October, I didn't get the same result. Lack of energy. So I stopped too, and he noticed it. So I love you guys. I am about to upload this on my YouTube channel. I do have TikTok. My TikTok has blown up quite a bit for the trust funds, or the trust account, or whatever you want to call it. It's exciting though, because I've made a lot of progress, and I've switched up my strategies. I mailed off a bunch of stuff yesterday. I have to mail off some stuff today and pick up boxes, because I'm moving to Destin, Florida at the end of September. I'm super excited about that. Nothing better than ocean when you are going through a healing moment. So I'm sure that I will take you guys out there with me. You guys can see that. And you know, it's an exciting time to be alive. And I knew that even whenever I was in the marriage, and I wanted to also feel that. It's like, I knew that it's an exciting time, but I didn't feel that because of the toxic relationship that I was in, you know, and I had to get out of that to get my blessings. So here they are, and I'm so glad to share them with you. I love you, and I will always, always meet you on the flip side.